Hey everybody, TGIF. So I'm taste testing some caramel coffee meat. They didn't have my cinnamon toast crunch, so creamer. So I gotta go get that at Staters tomorrow on the way back. So they this was the only one I had wanted to try this before, but I didn't get it. I ended up getting that that churro one. So yeah, I was kind of like disappointed in that one, but I didn't get this one because caramel for me is like a vanilla one kind of because I always would get caramel when I used to buy like the frappes and things like that. I used to get caramel, so it's kind of like my my standby flavor. So I'm gonna put a little more in this coffee mug. Well, yeah, you guys. Ralph's had their own kind too, but they didn't say anything about lactose free, so I wasn't sure. But I'm sure they are, but it didn't say it on there, which is weird because usually they do. So I didn't want to bother with it. I just said, you know what, I'll get this one. Okay, so the caramel coffee meat. Of course, I like it. I like it, but you guys, I have to always pour a lot of this, no matter what flavor, because I like it just really. I like my coffee really creamy. So yeah, you guys. So as if you don't know now, Alice Murdaugh was found guilty, and he was sentenced today to 2 consecutive life sentences for the murder of his son Paul and his wife Maggie. And some are saying reasonable doubt wasn't proven, but I mean, I kind of think and my stance on it is I think he is the one who did it. If he wasn't the triggerman, um he was definitely uh the orchestrator of the whole thing. He definitely did it. Why he would kill the son, I guess because the son was there. Or he was either targeting the wife or the son, and then the other one was happened to be there. Which, why were they there? So it had to have been, they were just all out there kind of kicking it, and then because up until this point, he had claimed hadn't even been near the kennels, and he wasn't. He forgot that when court cases happen, so they subpoena the like Verizon and all them those companies to give um the phone records and stuff. Because you know what's funny about that? I was talking to this guy once like years ago, and I was like, oh my god, I hope they don't look through all our texts and just start cracking up, because we were sending all these like dirty texts to each other. It was funny, but yeah, those things you text, those are they can access that stuff, so it takes like a subpoena, I think, but um it's not just automatic, but it's kind of like um so he wasn't banking on the fact that they had Paul's video um footage on there of 3 people talking near the kennels, and he was one of the voices. And also there was a prior video of him like standing there with different clothes on, a tree falling over, this and that, like a Charlie Brown type tree or something. So like, then he claimed that in the span of about 15 minutes, 20 minutes when he went to his mom's house, who has dementia. Dementia, which is something where your memory is gone, kind of, pretty much, or almost, to the point where someone could be standing there and it could be your husband and you don't know who it is, or you don't remember seeing them there or something. I forget. I don't know much about it, but it's something to do with memory. So he goes there clearly to set up an alibi, goes to his mom's, and the mom has caregivers. And the caregiver said that he said he was there 30 minutes, but she said, nah, he wasn't even there 15 minutes, he wasn't there that long. And she said he mysteriously asked her how her wedding planning was going and offered to pay her to pay for some of it, and basically, setting the tone. And yeah, the guy's dirty. But in my opinion, I don't know if the prosecutor, really proved it that much, but the prosecutor, because I do feel there could have been somebody else involved, but I don't feel that negates him being involved. Like, I feel like he knew about it. It wasn't like he was like, oh my God, some vigilante came and killed my family because Paul's boating accident, which, okay, his son had the boating accident, which opened them up, obviously, to a financial civil case eventually. And this guy was already knee-deep in just money problems. He was stealing clients' money. He was stealing from his law firm. He had just resigned or got fired from his law firm because they were looking at checks and balances. And, yeah, it's like... And this family basically just is one of those generational families from the area. Like, just his grandfather, his great-grandfather was, I think, prosecutors. And so they just come from a name, he comes from a name, and it was just destiny, like what, they're all going to be lawyers and this, that, just keep the family name going. So, they said that though his wife had been seeing divorce attorneys, because she was just out of it. She's over it, and obviously her being his wife, her name was on like certain properties and stuff like that. So it would make sense why he probably was after the wife to get rid of her. So, I have to deal with that divorce. She's gone. And then the son, they're saying it was because the case, but I don't think death absolves someone civilly. I think you could still go after their estate or whatever money they had or property they had, but obviously criminally he wouldn't, because they can't prosecute a corpse. So it's like, why he did it, I don't know if that was ever, but it's like, I do think he probably was targeting one of them. I don't know which one, but obviously the other one was there, which even that, why were they both there, He obviously couldn't. They also said that the son that he killed, Paul, was kind of like a little detective in the family, and he had told the mom, I found Dad's pills. He's still doing it because the dad, he was an addict, oxycodone, or so. It could have been that you snitch, and I guess that was when the mom had it. She was already talking to attorneys. I don't know, you guys, but I didn't buy the whole vigilante story either, because it's just, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Maybe some cousin of the victim's family from the boating accident was like, I'll do it if I get a cut, of the settlement money. But, I don't know. It's too coincidental, it's, most murder cases are circumstantial evidence, beyond reasonable doubt and all that. And some are saying they didn't prove that he did it, but I can't think of one person who else would want him gone. It's just like the Scott Peterson situation. It's like, who else would have wanted Lacey gone? Like, he was the only one that would have gained from that. Like, not having to deal, because he was cheating on her. So, it's like, not having to deal with being married to her anymore, not having to deal with divorcing her, not having to deal with paying child support for their son, which they said he wasn't even enthusiastic about it. So he did what he did, and they said he went to the marina and all that, and then months later, the baby and Lacey washed up. Like, it was clearly Scott Peterson. Like, who else would do it? You know, like, you have to look at that sometimes with these cases. Like, who else would gain? You know, no one else would gain from Lacey Pearson dying, except one of his deranged mistresses. Maybe could have done it, but it was obviously him, you know. But with this case, it's just, he was so knee deep in so much stuff, stealing from clients. He did have a lot of people that probably wouldn't mind him being 6 feet under, you know, just he was stealing, he hadn't paid. People were like, dude was like, these weren't even little settlements, you guys. These were like $4 or $5 million settlements, and he was stealing them, and then he was stealing from his firm, everything. Like, he was just needing. He said it was because he was addicted to oxycodone, but I don't know. He did lose a lot of weight though, and that could be just from the stress of, oh my god, am I gonna go to prison? Who knows? But you know, I don't know. I don't feel that the wrong guy is where he's at. Or when I say, I don't feel that the wrong guy is being convicted. I feel like he's so deep in it. Even if he did get a guy to do a hitman to do it, that doesn't absolve you from being guilty too. I mean, everyone knows that, just like the Tim Norman thing, the Sweetie Pies guy, who he was also sentenced to life in prison yesterday, I think. And he had got someone to kill his nephew, and he had taken out like a $500,000 life insurance policy on him and stuff. And the shooter and the one who lured the nephew out both took plea deals, and then I think the shooter got 30 years, she got 3 years, and then there's a, what are they called? Insurance guy who got, I don't know if he got sentenced yet, but he said that they submitted 3 different insurance policies because he had to change the stuff around, the information, you know, because they were lying about certain things like his worth and his job and everything. So yeah, you know, he's definitely guilty, that Norman guy. But the Murdaugh guy, my point is, whether he did it or he had a hitman do it, he is behind it 110%. Okay, because the thing is with hitmen, I've watched enough true crime to know. Just like the dude, the Frada or whatever, who just got executed in Texas like maybe a month ago. He has somebody, a hitman, kill his wife, and both the hitman and the liaison all were on death row in Texas, and he just got executed. And this happened like in the 90s, and so Texas has been taking long too. Everyone talks about California, but it's like, it doesn't matter because that's why they go hardest after the main person who set it up, because like Tim Norman, Alex Murdaugh, I'll just say him because I think there was another person. But he did have different clothes on after, because everyone knows the blood spatter thing. You can watch a few episodes of Forensic Files and understand why his clothes were different when he called the police. Everything, you know, there's certain things. There's blood splatter. There's things you can't even see on your clothes when you do something like that, when you shoot a gun or whatever. And there was a case where this guy he was just standing there like, oh my god, someone killed my wife. And they, you know how they take all their clothes and everything because they want to examine everything. He was smart enough to know, let me get rid of these clothes. Let me take a shower. He put on some shorts and something else, totally different than what was on Paul's video, which was filmed hours or whatever before the murder. Hour before the murder, or 30 minutes or something. He had on pants, and it's like he was crying, and okay, but the crying, some people, you have to think about it. If you're facing life in prison, death penalty was already not going to be on the table. According, prosecutor didn't see the death penalty, but it is South Carolina, so it is a death penalty state. But you're gonna face life in prison, and your whole empire, your family name, everything's at stake here, and you're crying for yourself. That's not hard to understand. I can't cry on cue like that, but if I'm sitting there thinking, I'm in court and I'm like, oh my God, like if I get convicted, and then there probably is moments of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Oh my God, I can't believe he sleeps at night, seeing, just like the judge said, seeing like the son's, I don't want to get into the testimony of that, because that, whew, seeing what he saw at the crime scene, So it's like, yeah, it's possible for people to cry because you're crying for yourself. You don't know what's behind a person crying. I could be crying because of some depressive thing going on, or that went on, or something I think's gonna happen soon, a intrusive thought or whatever. And people might think, well, oh, why is she crying? Is she crying because of, you don't know. You don't know what he's thinking mentally, so that doesn't prove that he's hurt and distraught over them dying. It's just the fact that I did this, and, I can't get into the mind of him because I'm not a murderer, but it's just kind of like, what, we don't know. I feel like the right man, though, is convicted, If he had a hitman, that hitman is just out there. Because the only way they're going to know there was a hitman is if he admits he did it. So that's the thing with that kind of thing, is there's cases where they have to go down. They have to go down alone, because if they say, well, no, John Smith helped me, then yeah, they'll go get John Smith. But you're still going down too, because you hired John Smith. John Smith, when Maggie and Paul would still be there if it weren't for you talking to John Smith, promising them whatever money, So it's like, that's why they go after the mastermind, because the mastermind is the one who, if no one else would have a reason, those other people would not have got together to do this crime if you hadn't planted the seed, like, So yeah. Anyway, you guys, that trial, I think they still have the trial about the case where he got the guy to try to shoot him near the road. That still has to happen, I think. So I'm interested in that case, because that cousin or friend or whoever he is, they said he's a cousin, but I think he's just some friend, because they asked him how long he knew him, and I'm like, so yeah, I'm kind of interested in that case, because it's just all over the place. He's like, well, I didn't, he told me to get a gun. He said, shoot me. Who knows with Alex Murdaugh? He lies so much that you don't know who's telling the truth in that case. And the other guy, his hands ain't too clean either. He had back issues, so he has oxy. But obviously they do some illegal stuff too. When you can't get them and stuff, you go resort to other things. So who knows? But you resort to selling them, or I think anyone he's involved with business wise just is suspect, unfortunately. And the brother cleaning up the scene, everything's just real weird with this case. People could have been throwing stuff out, especially the son. Some are even saying Buster could have been the gunman, the other gunman, or one of the gunmen. I think it was two different guns. So I think their backs were turned. Obviously, after the first shot, the other person probably turned and was like, what are you doing, Dad? And then, or whoever, and then, he had to kill the other person too. Because if he had just lured Paul somewhere to get rid of him because of the whole what he was going to bring on the family financially, Alex was already up into knee deep in all that debt with what he was doing and stealing and stuff. He was stealing again and again and again to pay back the other thefts, or hide what he had done. So this was another case, and it was like, if he had lured Paul somewhere, I think Maggie would have seen, like, I know you're behind it, Alex, or something, Anyway, again, my stance is I think the right person is behind bars. Because I think he's involved neck deep in the whole thing. Whether he was a shooter or not, irrelevant, But anyway, guys, I will talk to you guys later. I recommend this coffee creamer. If you like caramel, it's just your standard caramel creamer. I don't really care for the vanilla caramel one. I was gonna get that one from the store brand, but I've had vanilla caramel before, and it has at that time, it had a weird taste, so I don't know. But anyway, guys, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Have a good Friday. And stay hydrated. It's getting warm. All right, bye.